This is the new iPhone 17 Pro Max, and Apple is promising something huge with this phone, literally. They're claiming it has the best battery life ever in an iPhone, but what they don't shout about is that the very best version of this phone, the one with the biggest battery, isn't available to everyone. And if you're watching this in the UK or Europe, you need to know why. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, Maz here. Welcome back to MaztechCentral, where I make tech simple and accessible for everyone. Today, we have the brand new iPhone 17 Pro Max in the gorgeous deep blue, not the cosmic orange like everyone's probably going to get. I just couldn't do it. We're going to do a quick unboxing, but then we're diving deep to answer the big question. Is this phone really worth your hard-earned cash? If you've got last year's iPhone 16 Pro Max, what's the real reason to upgrade? And we'll get to the bottom of the battery mystery. Let's go. All right, that classic Apple unboxing experience. And there it is. Wow. Okay, first impressions of this deep blue. It's subtle, but in the light, it really pops. On camera, it might just look more black, but in person, finally, the deep blue has some real depth to it. It's a matte finish, so no more fingerprints, hopefully. Thank you very much. And when the light catches it, you see this almost metallic darker tones. It's very subtle, very clean. I like it. But what you notice immediately is the feel. This isn't the titanium we're used to from the last few generations. Apple's gone with this new brushed aluminium unibody, specifically a 7000 series aerospace grade alloy. They say this helps with the heat dissipation. We'll have a look at this later, but it feels fantastic. It's smooth, less of a fingerprint magnet, and feels incredibly solid in the hand. The screen bezels are even thinner this year, which makes this a massive 6.9-inch display feel even more immersive. You definitely forget the dynamic notch is there when watching content. And down here, Apple have continued with the camera control button. This feels like it should be a big deal for anyone who takes a lot of photos and videos. It's not just a shutter button. Apple says it gives you faster access to all your photo and video tools. I know in practice, from what I've read and watched over the past year or so with regards to the iPhone 16, that it's actually easier and quicker to use the screen. But as I didn't get the iPhone 16 last year, I'm going to reserve my judgment until I actually use this button for camera control. Under the hood, we have the new A19 Pro chip. Now for every new iPhone, it's the fastest ever, right? But this year is different. Apple have added something called a Vapour chamber, which is laser welded into the aluminium frame. Think of it like a high-tech cooling system for your phone. What does that actually mean for you? Well, it means the phone can run at its top speed for way longer without getting too hot or slowing down. This is a fundamental architectural shift away from peak speeds towards endurance. For gaming, that means no more performance drops in the middle of a big fight. For video editing, it means faster rendering without turning your phone into a hand warmer, although that used to be useful in those winter days. This new thermal design enables up to 40% better sustained performance than the previous generation, making it a more viable tool for professional level tasks. Apple has upgraded the entire camera system for what they call a Pro Fusion camera system. The big news? The ultra-wide camera now gets a massive 48 megapixel sensor just like the main camera, but it's a Pro Fusion system. That means it takes data from other sources or lenses to create a final superior picture or video. And the telephoto lens is also now a 48 megapixel sensor. Your big landscape shots, your group photos, and your zoomed in photos, they're all going to have so much more detail. On the spec sheet, Apple is claiming that it's a true 4x optical zoom and an incredible 8x high resolution optical zoom. Now that may go over some people's head like it did mine. So what does it actually mean for your photos? So here's what Apple really means. The iPhone 17 Pro Max has a true optical 4x zoom at about 100 millimeters. That's the actual lens. And it's a sweet spot for portraits. Faces look natural, flattering, and you don't have to stand half a football pitch away to frame your shot. But then Apple also says you get 8x, which is like a 200 millimeter lens. Here's the trick. The lens itself isn't going to 200 millimeters. Instead, Apple's using that 48 megapixel sensor behind the telephoto. At 4x, you're using all 48 megapixels. At 8x, the phone just crops into the center of that higher res image, leaving you with around 12 megapixels, which is still plenty sharp. The best way to picture it? Imagine printing a giant poster. At 100 millimeters, you see the entire poster edge to edge, full detail. At 200 millimeters, you cut out just the center and frame that instead. Because the original poster was so high res, cropped in version still looks crisp on your wall. Same idea here. You're not getting a second lens, but you're getting a really clean digital assist thanks to the huge sensor. Exactly. It's clever, and it means you're getting two of the most useful focal lengths for photography, portraits, and long-range shots without the phone needing a giant, bulky lens. It's the A19 Pro chip and that massive sensor doing the heavy lifting. But for those video nerds out there, this is the killer feature. You can now shoot in ProRes RAW. That's Apple's professional video format in 4K at 120 frames per second. That means you can get incredibly high quality cinematic slow motion right out of your phone. Finally, they've upgraded the front camera to a new 18 megapixel center stage camera, where it will keep you centered on those video calls, recordings, and pictures. But the standout feature this time, well, on all phones, when taking selfies, you have to choose between portrait and landscape orientations, right? Well, not anymore. Because Apple have upgraded the camera sensor to a new square design, it means you can now hold your phone in a portrait orientation and take a landscape selfie. I think this is going to be so useful, and I can't wait to test it out even more. The 6.9-inch Super Retina XDR display is as you'd expect. Stunning. It's brighter than last year's model with a peak brightness of 3000 nits, so watching or scrolling in direct sunshine won't be a problem. I would test this, but we in the UK are entering autumn, and that means more rain, less sunshine, and for the first time in months, I'm thinking about switching the heating on. Crazy, right? The display also comes with ProMotion, which is across the board now on all iPhone models, which is great. The real upgrade is in durability. This has Ceramic Shield 2, which Apple claims has 3 times better scratch resistance than its predecessor. Now, we're not going to do a scratch test here, just because, anxiety, but for everyday peace of mind, knowing it's less likely to get those annoying micro scratches, it's a huge plus. It also has a new anti-reflective coating, which should make it easier to see in bright sunlight by reducing glare. Okay, so for everyone holding an iPhone 16 Pro Max right now, this is the big question. Should you upgrade? Let's put them side by side on paper. There are some key differences. I'm going to talk through each of the features and then give you my take on it, MaztechCentral style. The processor. The iPhone 16 Pro Max has an A18 Pro chip, and the iPhone 17 Pro Max has an A19 Pro chip. My take? The latter is faster, but the real win here is sustained speed. Next feature, cooling. The iPhone 16 Pro Max has a standard passive cooling method, whilst the iPhone 17 Pro Max has a vapor chamber. My take on this is less slowdown during long gaming editing sessions. Rear cameras. The iPhone 16 Pro Max had a 48 megapixel main camera, a 48 megapixel ultra wide, and a 12 megapixel telephoto. The iPhone 17 Pro Max has 48 megapixel fusion cameras for all 3 cameras. Significantly more detail across all zoom ranges. Battery? We'll get onto this in the next section. Just hold fire on this one just for now. Display durability. The iPhone 16 Pro Max had Ceramic Shield, whereas the 17 Pro Max has Ceramic Shield 2, making it 3 times more scratch resistant, more durable and less reflective for everyday use. For connectivity, both have Wi-Fi 7, so they're both future-proof for next-gen routers. So what does this all mean? If you're a casual user, you browse your social media, take photos of your family, watch YouTube, the iPhone 16 Pro Max is still a phenomenal phone. We all know this. You probably won't feel a night and day difference in day-to-day speed. But if you're a power user, a creator, or a serious mobile gamer, the upgrade is genuinely compelling. The sustained performance from that new cooling system is a game changer for demanding tasks. The more versatile and detailed camera system gives you more creative freedom. And then there's the battery. Let's talk about the main event. Apple was calling this an enormous leap in battery life. The numbers are impressive. The iPhone 16 Pro Max had a respectable 4,685 mAh battery. This new iPhone 17 Pro Max, well, this is where it gets interesting. For years, we've had this little tray for a physical SIM card. But in some countries like the US, Canada, Japan, and Mexico, Apple have gone eSIM-only, meaning there's no more physical SIM card anymore. Why does this matter? Because removing that physical SIM tray frees up a tiny bit of space inside the phone. And what's Apple done with that space? Nothing until this year. They filled it with more battery. So as mentioned, the iPhone 16 Pro Max has a 4,685 mAh battery. The iPhone 17 Pro Max, the ones available in the UK and those with a physical SIM, has a 4,832 mAh battery. That's a solid 3%. Still a big jump. The iPhone 17 Pro Max in the US and those with the eSIM-only model has a 5,088 mAh battery. That's an extra 5.5% thanks to no SIM tray. So the eSIM-only model sold in the US gets a massive 5,088 mAh battery. Here in the UK and Europe, where our phones still have the physical nano SIM tray, we get a 4,832 mAh battery. Now, is it a bit frustrating that we don't get the absolute biggest battery possible? Could be, but let's be clear. A jump from 4,685 mAh to 4,832 is still a fantastic improvement. And personally, I still like the versatility of having a physical SIM tray so that when I need it, when I go on holiday, I have the option of buying a physical SIM and using it for when I need it abroad. Apple's test claims insane numbers like 30+ hours of video playback. But what does that mean in a normal day? Well, it means you can leave the house in the morning with 100%, use your phone heavily for navigation, photos, social media, and productivity, and still come home with plenty of charge left to spare. It's something I'll definitely be testing out, but from the numbers Apple provided and their usual seamless software and hardware integration, I think this phone will get heavy users through the day and then some. So the biggest question of all, is the iPhone 17 Pro Max worth the money? It launched on 19th September at the same price as last year's model, starting at £1,199 for the 256GB model this time. That is a lot of money for a phone, no question. You're not just buying a phone, you're buying a top-tier camera, a portable gaming console, and a video editing machine, all with a battery that can finally keep up. So, who is the iPhone 17 Pro Max for? If you demand the absolute best battery life in an iPhone, this is it. If you're a creator who will use the Pro camera system or a gamer who wants maximum performance that lasts, this phone is built for you. If you have an iPhone 15 Pro Max or older, this is a massive, meaningful upgrade. If you have the iPhone 16 Pro Max, it's a tougher call, but the gains in battery and sustained performance are real and noticeable for power users. Even with the catch that we don't get the absolute biggest battery here in the UK, the iPhone 17 Pro Max is still a huge leap forward. It feels like Apple has finally delivered a Pro phone where the battery life truly matches the Pro performance. But what do you guys think? Is the battery life enough to make you upgrade? Are you annoyed about the eSIM difference? I'm not. Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you found this video helpful, a like and subscribe would be amazing. Thanks for watching MaztechCentral. I'm Maz, and I'll see you in the next one.